What's up, chat? It's Sunday night. How's the camera? How's the audio? We looking good? I haven't gone live since this morning. I got the camera at kind of a different angle. Maybe we should... I don't know. It's always weird to have this mic looking right up in... I don't know. It's just gonna have to do it. Happy Sunday night. Happy NBA playoff basketball. It's coming. It's coming. Big time 4-game slate tomorrow. There's a fun 8-game game ones contest on DraftKings. But there wasn't a lot of big money in it. It was kind of a shame because I wanted to play it, you know? Anyway, I'm Gun. Twitter.com/GundackerSports. If you guys are new to the channel, what you see on the screen, that's RunDFS.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS, we run DFS. If you're looking to take that DFS game to the next level, I say it all the time, but you got to be on a team, man. And I love my team. I trust my team. And we've got grinders, all different bankroll levels, crushing it at all different bankroll levels. And if that's you, no matter what level you play at, you're more than welcome to come be part of our team in that RunDFS.com VIP Discord, which right now is sweating the Yankee game. And there's Raj. Should we let Raj on the stream? We're going to let Raj on the stream. Here.
Yo, yo.
What's up? What's up, dude?
Oh, another day, another grind. I was actually at a cottage this weekend in Niagara Falls area. Got back today and, back on a grind.
You said you were at a college?
Cottage.
Oh, cottage. You ain't them cottage trips, man. That's some...
I mean, it's a summertime wave. Almost every other weekend.
I guess so, man. I guess that would... I don't know what to equate that down here in the sticks would be, but some log cabin in the woods or something. I don't know. Man.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're live on a Sunday night, man. I didn't think I'd ever have a night stream again, but here we are. Kind of crazy. I was probably live around 7 a.m. this morning, and now here we are at 9 p.m. live again. But we've got 4 games of NBA playoff basketball to chop up for tomorrow. I don't know if you've taken a look at either side. There's tons of money going to first place in those big tournaments. FanDuel's pricing seems extremely soft. Like the most expensive player over there, Luka Doncic at 10.2. It really feels like they specifically designed the pricing on FanDuel to where you could play anybody you wanted, and you didn't feel restricted in your lineup construction. And if that wasn't the goal, that's what they ended up with, because that's nuts. DraftKings felt tighter at first, but then some more and more news is coming out. Like Jordan Clarkson's going to be one of the highest owned players now. I liked him. I put up a video this morning saying that I like Jordan Clarkson, and then later this afternoon, or earlier this afternoon, Mike Conley was ruled out. Congrats to him, but he had a kid, so he left the bubble. So now Clarkson is going to go from one of my favorite value plays to super, super chalk. Get me back in? Yeah, I got you. So nonetheless, it should be fun. I'm going to have probably more interest on FanDuel just to script different ways. But, we're putting action out there on both sides. DraftKings trying something new with a couple different contests. They have the 8-game slate, all game ones, which normally it's hard to project a day in advance what lineups might be, but I think in the playoffs it's not going to be that crazy, so that would be fun to play. I would have a lot of fun with that. I was just kind of let down by the prize pool. And then I don't know if you saw this, but DraftKings also has a contest where you choose players for the whole series. It's in the lobby, let's say NBA. So let's say it's kind of like it's a showdown format. Series. Let's just click the $100 one. So essentially, if you wait, what they changed it to? Okay, what? This wasn't what I was looking at yesterday. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, so the Philadelphia and Boston series, you can set your lineup based on one salary that's set now, and then if they go 5 games, 6 games, all the cumulative fantasy points accrued by the players will be added up at the end of the series. So a little bit confusing at first, but they're trying, right? They're trying to come up with something new, something different. So kudos to DraftKings for that. Um, so if you guys hadn't seen that in the lobby, the game one's 2 game slate or 2 day slate, and then the full series showdown style slate. Maybe give it a look. Hey, these type of contests aren't being fully supported by DFS media, so I always felt like contest types like this and tiers and afternoon turbo slate stuff like that has very minimal like coverage throughout the landscape of the DFS media have a little bit more edge. So check that out. I'm gonna close that for now. Let's go look at the live chat. Shout out to Creasy. Shout out Hey Doronzo, Pat Nasty. Hope you guys are doing good on a Sunday afternoon. I'm just about ready to shut this Red Sox game off. It looks like the Yankees are gonna tighten that win. So we can jump into game number 1. Utah Jazz at the Denver Nuggets. Raj, what is up with your... Oh my goodness. Raj, what's up with that Wi-Fi, bro?
Well, it's not the Wi-Fi. It's like the Discord every time. It's literally just like when it says voice connected, at the bottom, and they keep saying disconnected like every 2 minutes.
Okay, hold on. Is Jake trying to get in here?
Yeah, and Jake wanted to. Mr. 100K.
I mean, we haven't started, and this is his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get Jake in here then. While we wait for Jake to get here, Jake, by the way, won $100,000. What is it, 2-3 nights ago on the final day of the NBA slate?
What a night to win it too. The final day. You have to do some real research.
It was actually insane. Here he is. You're Jake. The Terrence Mann. I would probably say you're Terrence Mann's #1 fan on the planet.
I mean, gotta be, best player in the league.
You gotta buy a jersey. You ordered a jersey, right? Okay, you have to. That's just gotta be a display pick from now on for.
Dude, if Terrence Mann at 0.5% won me $100K, I might have a whole room in my house dedicated to Terrence Mann. I would have to go find out what college he went to, get his college. I couldn't tell you anything about Terrence Mann other than I played him like once against the Pelicans last year, and it didn't go well. But it went well for you. So congrats on $100,000. Hopefully your $100,000 knowledge will help us out on this slate. And for those of you that are new to Jake is a resident Mormon from Utah. So perfect timing to pick his brain on this Jazz game. Jazz at the Nuggets. We got Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson, Jingle Joe Ingles, Royce O'Neal, and Rudy Gobert taking on Jamal Murray, Torrey Craig, Michael Porter Jr., Paul Millsap, and Nikola Jokic. We got 215.5 total, a 4.5 point spread in favor of the Denver Nuggets. One thing I will say, looking at these totals for today, it felt a little bit more normal, non-bubble-ish. But we got word earlier this afternoon Mike Conley left the bubble for the birth of his child. I was already pretty privy to Jordan Clarkson on DraftKings at 3,800, but now he seems like he's going to be an immense value and probably at extremely high ownership. Hard to get away from that. Jake, is there any secrets without Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic that we should be on in this Nuggets game?
I mean, for the most part, Utah would play how you'd expect without him. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's going to carry a heavy load. Jordan Clarkson's going to be the main shooter. The one thing to watch is the early game, so we'll know. The Jazz could have rolled out 2 different lineups when they've had to fill in. Is either Clarkson starting or we might see George Niang start. Niang doesn't really do anything but stand in the corner. Clarkson obviously will chuck. If we get news on who would actually play point guard, that would be massive. I think everyone knows about Joe Ingles' upside games when he gets point guard minutes, but for the most part, yeah, Mitchell will be the guy, and Royce O'Neal's stupid cheap on DraftKings.
Man, Royce O'Neal is not fun to play, but I have seen some serviceable DFS games from him, especially, I guess, since Bojan's gone down. 29, 32, 36 in his last couple games in the bubble with some minutes. And, in the playoffs, I start disregarding 10-man rotations, we're gonna get really really tight minutes for our starters. Royce O'Neal probably one of those 35+ minute guys, right?
Yeah, Royce is going to be out there, I mean, pretty much all the time. He's not a big offensive threat, but he's by far Utah's best defender. And he'll probably be, I mean, when Will Barton gets out, he'll follow him. For now, Michael Porter Jr. is probably going to get a lot of Royce O'Neal defense. So O'Neal's a big part of Utah's rotation, just for defense alone.
Okay, so I think we're all kind of in agreement that Jordan Clarkson is just too cheap to argue against. But Donovan Mitchell is the most expensive shooting guard at 8K. Obviously, he's going to get an uptick in usage and potential responsibility without Mike Conley. But I feel like we've seen this before. We've heard this before. I'm looking right below him at Karis LeVert, who might get a little less buzz now because people just feel like the Mitchell usage is just going to be crazy at 38 minutes. What's the level of confidence on Mitchell against the Nuggets this season? 3 games, 39 minutes pop, averaging less than a point per minute, 36.
I think you hit it. Mitchell's been super hit or miss no matter what's been going on, and right below him's Karis LeVert. We'll get to a couple other people. There's a lot of loose pricing on both sides, but I mean, I'm not against Mitchell. He's going to have the uptick in usage, but if he's not making a shot, it's like he can get some rebounds, get some assists, but he's not he needs to score 30 points to even think about getting there.
Zach Britton just whiffed the underhanded throw, and now the tying run is at the plate. F me. All right. On the flip side here, on the Nuggets side of the basketball, Jamal Murray is probably one of my favorite points per dollar plays on both sites. I got him down at the soft 35 minutes. I think that's a realistic outcome. I have Gary Harris and Barton out, but I don't know if that's official.
It is.
It is? Okay. So there's no reason to suspect that Jamal Murray would not get 37 minutes as a floor should he stay out of foul trouble. He's been over a point per minute producer since coming back. So I think if we're looking for straight up 6x to maybe 9-10x value, I think he's easily one of my favorite options there. And then Jokic, pretty cheap on both sides. And this is one of those spots, if Jokic can go, that he's going to have to go 36, 37 minutes. Jokic, a guy that during the regular season wasn't going that deep minute-wise consistently. So if here's a guy that can threaten a triple-double in 32 minutes or less, you give him a shot at 38 minutes, I'm a buyer. In 3 games against the Jazz, he's averaging 38 minutes with 65 fantasy points. On DraftKings, I think Joel Embiid's going to draw a lot of people's attention at the top there without Ben Simmons. He averages, I think, 1.6 fantasy points per minute without Ben Simmons. I don't know that Jokic necessarily goes low-owned, but having Embiid, Jokic, and Porzingis all being center only really makes somebody susceptible to being the odd man out. Where are you at? I guess we'll talk about the other centers later, but Jokic against Gobert here, if you're running one lineup, is Jokic your center, a center?
It's tough because you mentioned there are a couple good centers. I really like Jokic. I was big on Jokic the first time when they played Utah in the bubble like a week ago. I'd be lying if I said he didn't get there because of double overtime. He wasn't great in regulation. But, I mean, pretty much any time. Gobert's really struggled with guys who can pull him out of the paint, guys who can handle the ball. And Jokic Jokic shoots threes. Jokic is a great ball handler for big. He's everything that causes Gobert problems on defense.
Paul Millsap, I got him down for 23 minutes. The guy I put with the most minutes off the bench is Jeremy Grant. I got him at 28 minutes to maybe spell Millsap a little bit, maybe even spell some Jokic if he had to. Also, Mason Plumlee pretty cheap. It's hard to even consider a cheap center today because the top of the center chart is so stacked. So I can't really flirt too much down there. Is Monte Morris sneaky? Raj, would you get that crazy?
Monte Morris today, I mean, I get it, backup point guard, he's 3,600. I think he might be a chalk value guy with Jordan Clarkson.
Chalk?
I just think the easy build, it seems like, if you really want to play Embiid, I mean, if you want to do Embiid, Jokic, Embiid, Porzingis, Embiid, whoever, plug in Jordan Clarkson, Morris, I feel like a lot of builds might start like that. You're securing the minutes there. All those guys probably played 28 plus, 25 plus. And obviously in this slate, not a ton of value with playoff rotation getting tighter. Those guys seem a little mispriced for what their usage will be in the minutes. I see those guys, being very popular value guys.
Yeah, I guess Torrey Craig would be the most susceptible to his minutes being restricted. I'm really interested to see if Michael Porter goes 35 minutes plus as a rookie in the playoffs with Mike Malone babysitting him. Raj, I didn't get your takes on either side here. Is there any must-haves on either side? Are you going to be high on
I
Donovan
mean,
Mitchell?
I think, yeah, I mean, you guys brought up the Jokic thing. Everyone's going to play Embiid. DraftKings Porzingis is center only. You have Gobert. I mean, Jokic averaged 64 DKP against this Utah team in 3 games.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think like I said, I think he goes under 15% on a 4-game slate. So, and there's edge to be had. I just think Embiid's going to take a ton. Like it's no Simmons. People just it's just an automatic click.
I I agree, but I disagree. I can't see him be under. I think all the centers will be 30% min.
Like Embiid, Jokic, and
I guess one of them has to be under 30, but I just can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could be Porzingis.
Maybe. So like in that sentence, like I love Embiid, the potential of Embiid, but I also respect Brad Stevens to scheme for Embiid, giving like he's known that he's likely going to play the Sixers and Ben Simmons has been down. I'm thinking real life perspective. I feel like there's a great chance that maybe Embiid gets schemed here, and like maybe Jokic Porzingis is the way I want to go, just to be different. I'm curious with the ownership projections because the top 3 centers are all intriguing to say the least. Let's go check out the live chat. What up, yo? Look, it's Dion. Dion's in the chat. Dion says Tax is about to F Jake up. Hojo Jones, I'll forward this question to Jake. He says, Gunn, to be a little different, would you play Emmanuel Mudiay? So maybe a pivot from some Clarkson. Would you take a chance on Mudiay? Maybe a Clarkson or Mitchell getting foul trouble. Is there a range of outcomes where Mudiay is a great play today at 3K?
I mean, it's interesting. It's definitely worth watching. The one thing you have to know is he's actually legit hurt right now. He's had a knee problem for a while, and when he's been sitting out the last couple games, it's not for rest. He's just hurt.
So if he does get ruled out, wow.
Well, then Clarkson's already a lock, but also he has to play 40 minutes, him and Mitchell.
Jeez. That's wild. But who guards Millsap? I think Niang starts. You think Niang will start OJ? Yeah. So Jake said that is a potential outcome there, especially if they want to play a little bit bigger against Denver's front court.
Wingo's blow up spot.
I still feel so. Millsap, I would probably say, is the 4th option, right? But I'll put him ahead of Torrey Craig, but Murray, Jokic, Porter, then Millsap. So I'm not excited to play Millsap. If that's what you're getting at, like who would guard Millsap?
Guys, no one play Millsap.
I'm more interested in Jeremy Grant as far as power forwards there. Playoffs, more minutes. Royce can't guard the post, potential fouls. Yeah, definitely some foul potential for a lot of the high defensive guys. And I think if you're a mass entry type of person, you should script a batch of lineups with that in mind. Like, for every team, right? Who benefits? Who's the 6th man that benefits from guy number 1 going down to foul trouble? So for me, I'm thinking about the Clippers. If Patrick Beverly, Paul George, or Kawhi Leonard, if any of those guys get in quick foul trouble, I expect Lou Williams to be relied on ASAP. So who from each team would be that guy? If Jamal Murray got in foul trouble, is Monte Morris like the de facto beneficiary? I'm not too concerned about Royce O'Neal foul trouble because I'm not like if Royce O'Neal has 4 fouls, like I don't feel like we need to replace 15 shots all of a sudden. So maybe he's not one of those guys I want to kind of run that scenario by. Jokic under 20%, says Raj. Yikes. Gino says, who you guys got at center? At center stacked. PJ Dozier instead of Monte Morris. I could see that. Jokic and Murray.
Dozier in the playoff rotation.
I think so. If there's no Harrison Barton, I think he is. I put him down for 16 minutes, right? It's not something that is like an incredulous must-have. But until I remember Gary and Will Barton. Gary was representing 35 minutes of regulation basketball, and Will Barton pushing 30+ as a starter too. So there's guard minutes there to go around. I'm putting him more so on like a Monte Morris, and it wouldn't even be crazy to see like a Jeremy Grant have to stretch out to a 3 if it got that crazy. That's a lot. I mean, I guess that's enough for this game. If you saw Gorgeous Nang in the starting lineup, Jake, at 3K, where would you put his minutes at, and like how interested are you as from a fantasy perspective in Yang?
Not very. I'd guess he plays like 20 minutes probably. The main reason that Niang would start is if they want to match up size-wise with Millsap, but more so, the biggest problem with Utah all season, but especially as of late, is their bench. Their bench has been borderline useless, so that if they put Clarkson in the starting lineup, they have no bench scoring unless they're staggering something to get Mitchell or Clarkson on the floor at all times. It might be easier to do that and match up better size-wise just to put Clarkson off the bench as a six-man.
Okay, and just from a tournament mindset, nobody's thinking about Rudy Gobert, right? Is he about to play 38 minutes?
I'm telling you, this game. If you want to just like game stack with like Murray, Jokic, Mitchell, and Gobert, I can see that winning a tournament.
And here's the other thing to know. If we're talking about Ingles and a possible blow-up game there, the biggest reason Ingles at point, the main thing they do is they run the pick and roll with Ingles and Gobert. That's the main source of offense.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're putting Jokic under 20, Gobert might be single-digit owned on a 4-gamer, right? So that's tournament leverage game theory if you're running 100, 150. Obviously, I have them as 4 out of 4 there. And there's some guys that are a little cheaper that I might be a little bit more interested in. But just the thought that, hey, Gobert's going to be out there soaking minutes too. Maybe we're about to see just how forgiving Donovan Mitchell is for the Gobert situation. Really use him when they need to. 4.5 point spread. Jake, you think this is staying close?
I want it to as a fan, but man, if like Utah's the only bench option they have is Clarkson, it's basically going to be the Mitchell show to do anything. The team hasn't looked great, albeit they've been tanking. I want to believe they'll keep it close, but I don't think they have much shot at like winning the series.
Yeah,
especially without Conley.
I mean, hey, the Nuggets are limping into it too. Their bench is pretty depleted. Let's move on to the next game here. Raptors hosting the Brooklyn Nets. Project starting 5 for the Nets: Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Garrett Temple, Rodion Carew, Jared Allen. Up against Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Marc Gasol. We got a 222 total and a 9.5 point spread in favor of the Raptors. Really lopsided spread here. Jared Allen, we talk about centers that really probably will not get traction today. Jared Allen seems to make the least sense to me of any center. In terms of production. First of all, we put him at nearly a double-digit underdog here, so you're probably going to be leaning more to like 3-point shots. Secondly, we go pull up the team stats tab in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, and we go to points in the paint per game allowed. The Raptors allow the third fewest points in the paint in basketball. We've seen some scenarios lately where high-scoring centers just get really, really stripped down. I think Jonas Valanciunas, I talked about earlier, had 0 real points in this spot. So Jared Allen's a guy that's going to exclusively score in the paint. So that's a tough spot for him to get off. He does not chuck threes at all. He has 1 3 in his last 10 games, and his shot attempts are single-digit as it is, and they're all essentially dunks. So it's hard to put upside on him in this matchup. So I think if we're process of elimination, even just looking at that center spot, he is $700 cheaper than a Gobert and a little bit more expensive than a Harold Ibaka, even a Marc Gasol. I think I probably get to know Jared Allen. If I die because of that, I die. But I will get to the shooters here: Karis LeVert and Joe Harris. So the Raptors are still, I think, when they're playing inspired basketball, their defense is going to be one of the better defenses in this in the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference. But I think I start treating this like football. I'm not going to overthink matchups. I'm going to start respecting volume, shooter volume, and usage. Karis LeVert and Joe Harris are the two names sticking out to me the most here. Karis LeVert is just a stud waiting to happen. And I think that Mike Conley news made me kind of enjoy the thought of LeVert more, because maybe people that were on LeVert to begin with now feel more pressure to go play Donovan Mitchell because he's the de facto point guard. Karis LeVert in 3 games this season against the Raptors, 28 minutes a game, averaging 35. So that 28 minutes might push 38 minutes, and that 35 might push 50. His usage and his point per minute production it's going to spike. The other guy that I'm considering here, if we're gonna take the ball out of Jared Allen's hand a little bit, Joe Harris is a dual position eligible sub 5K guy. Kind of reminds me of JJ Redick a bit, right? You're going to get double-digit shot attempts. They're almost all going to be from downtown. He's going to be scoring dependent, right? He probably needs 20-plus real points to put in a solid game. But if you're looking at this Brooklyn team and, who's going to give him a chance, I think it has to be LeVert. It has to be Joe Harris. I'm not trusting Temple. Maybe you can make an outside case for Carew, but there's not a whole lot of scoring production on this team that I respect in actual games against an actual contender. So I feel like the Nets will sink or swim by LeVert and Joe Harris. I might get creative in 150 lineups and flirt with a Tyler Johnson or a Garrett Temple, some veteran guys that maybe have a little bit of experience in environments like this, but it's hard to really love that. And then on the Raptors side, this is a team that a lot of times in the regular season were playing 38 minutes for their starters anyway. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet. Go right back to the well there and just minute equal money them. But Marc Gasol makes a case and Serge Ibaka makes a case. Didn't you say Ibaka was on track to play in this game?
Yeah, Nick Nurse was expecting him to play. It sounds like he just had some knee soreness, and they were holding him out as a precaution until the playoffs.
So I think a lot of people are going to go up at center today. So Ibaka and Marc Gasol kind of don't get thought about because people are going to jam in Embiid, Jokic, Porzingis. So I think in 150 lineups, it would be worth it to me in under 10 lineups to have a shot at either an Ibaka or a Gasol. If we look at the team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com VIP spreadsheet, the Brooklyn Nets are easily the best matchup on the board for opposing centers to accrue fantasy points in. Marc Gasol's gosh darn cheap at 4,300. 25 is what I'd really want on a normal situation. He's averaging, or he dropped almost 48 on him earlier this season. That wasn't 33 and a half minutes. I'm not expecting 30 minutes here, but who knows? Maybe he's one of those guys they take the chains off in the playoffs. But if I got 25 minutes of Marc Gasol in a number one DVP matchup, I think he could pay it off. So I think he's one of those guys that's going to project as a solid value. Same with Serge Ibaka to an extent. Project as a solid value because of the matchup. But this is definitely a position where the raw points are going to be most important at the end of the night. So I really don't paint a whole lot of scenarios where Gasol and Ibaka are the nuts unless we got that 48-point game from Marc Gasol. But just kind of an idea that they're cheap and they're going to be single-digit % owned in a extremely plus matchup. What keeps happening to Raj? that McDonald's Wi-Fi coming and going. Ibaka's gonna play. Yeah, Ibaka's gonna play. So I think the Raptors are kind of a stackable team just because we can pin 35 minutes on it. Probably at least 3 of the 5 starters: Lowry, VanVleet, and Siakam. Anunoby at 3,500. That's really cheap for a guy that potentially plays 35 minutes himself, right? He does have block steal potential. Maybe more of a FanDuel play at a shallow small forward position. This season, in 4 games against the Nets, 27.5 minutes per game, 11.6 fantasy points, not what you want. But could he surprise us with some upside games? You see a 35 against the Lakers, a 31 against Phoenix. I think there is a range of outcomes where he's not, or at 3,500, he's a solid stocking stuffer. Anybody from the Raptors you're especially targeting? Siakam, any of these guards?
The main one for me was VanVleet, and a lot of that's just price-wise. On DraftKings, he's down to 6,800, and we know what VanVleet's going to do. He's going to come out, he's going to play 37, upwards of 42 minutes, as we've seen. He's going to shoot, he's going to get some rebounds, he's going to get assists. He's a pure stat sheet stuffer, and he's going to play as many minutes as he can handle against a very easy defensive matchup in the Nets.
Yeah. Raj, if you're watching, Canadian internet's trash, bro. No, I don't. Raj keeps blaming Discord. He's the only one having issues with Discord, so I don't know what to tell him. He's out of there. Let me know if you come. Tag me if you come back. Otherwise, I'm vibing. Let's go see what the chat's got on this game before we get on to the next one. OOJL says, can you rank the Jazz on FanDuel? Talking about for fantasy value. So I think on the playoff slate, I said it earlier. FanDuel, I don't think it's going to be a game of value over here. It's insane that Luka's only 10-2. Like, the whole slate, you're not going to have an issue making lineups. You're just not. So if you're ranking the Jazz, it's probably just being ranked on raw points. I think Clarkson would probably be higher just because I have more confidence in him not busting at 4-4. And then because Donovan Mitchell's at the exact same position, he would be 2. And then would you put Ingles 3, Gobert 4, or do you even agree with that order?
Royce actually becomes really interesting on FanDuel because he's a big stock guy, mainly steals more so. And I know I'm not a big FanDuel player, but I do know steals are weighted much heavily.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back in Royce's games, even the ones 11 minutes and 2 blocks against the Spurs, a steal and 14 against Dallas, 2 steals and a block against Denver. He's a big stock guy, and I know that's big on FanDuel.
Yeah, that's a +3. I hate that he's a power forward. Obviously, that's where he's starting, but you're kind of sometimes they miss position guys, and I feel like I would have been more comfortable playing him at the small forward spot. Let's see what else we got in live chat. Serge Ibaka or Marc Gasol gonna break the slate? It's very possible. Do you think the Nets keep it close? I think so. No fans changes playoff basketball. Teams have to generate own energy. So the Nets have been pretty surprising in the final week of the bubble, right? Their G League's team took the Milwaukee Bucks to the limit in the first half of that game against the Bucks, and then they fought the Blazers right on to literally to the final shot. Is that saying a whole lot when they're now tasked with a defending champion that is a top defensive team? Maybe not. I think if they keep it close, it's 100% on LeVert and Joe Harris. I think if one of those two are having a bad game, the Nets don't have a shot. I don't think they really much have a shot anyway. But as far as keeping it close, probably not. But I also don't think like this is one of those regulation season games where if you're up 20 points, they're going to bench starters. And if they did, it probably wouldn't be until like inside of 5 minutes in the final quarter. So I wouldn't overthink a blowout here, right? What up, Lanza? Been watching you for years back in the Chronic days. Thanks for coming back. No problem. I actually just, me and Chronic had a nice little chat the other day. He's doing really well. I talked to him about coming back for some NFL stuff, so hopefully he does that, right? Young C in the chat. Raj got that McDonald's Wi-Fi. Zubac on DraftKings is criminally priced, to be honest. He is, but keep an eye on Montrezl Harrell. Seems like he might be available. Not saying that, Zubac's not going to be a deep minute guy anyway, but yeah. See myself doing 80% Doncic cash games on FanDuel. Yeah, his floor is just amazingly high for that price point. But I will say shooting guard seems on FanDuel. Luka, Karras, PG, point. Shooting guard's pretty deep on FanDuel. I love Lou Williams as well. Norman Powell's just sitting here. I haven't even thought about him. We're on this game. He's probably gonna sit around the 25-minute range, but
yeah, Powell. I mean, he's gonna shoot when he gets out there. He'll grab a couple rebounds. It's just with Van Vliet and Lowry playing possibly 40 minutes. How much other guard time is there really to have?
Yeah, I'm not pushing this shit on him. All right, let's move on to the next game here. Celtics hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Shake Milton, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris, Al Horford. Joel Embiid taking on Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Daniel Tice. We got a 218.5 total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the home team Boston Celtics. Joel Embiid has one of the bigger discrepancies in prices from site to site. On FanDuel, just $8,500. On DraftKings, 10.2, easily the most expensive center on the slate. So his pressure, his responsibility to score the most at the position is that much higher. The opportunity's there for him. If we go to the on-off court tool from Fantasy Labs, we take off. All we'll do is take off Ben Simmons and put on Joel Embiid. Just kind of paint a picture on his point per minute production. Joel Embiid is at a 37.5% usage rate, and I don't even know where they put point per minute. I know on RotoWire they had him at 1.6 fantasy points per minute. So big time usage uptick for him. And this is a team that probably sinks or swim on the back of Joel Embiid. I put him down for 37 minutes. We saw what he did in the playoffs the last last year, minute-wise, production-wise, without Ben Simmons. It's him. The Boston Celtics, I do believe when they have to key down, Brad Stevens will have them ready. You'll probably see a lot of Marcus Smart mixed in action somehow. You might even see Marcus Smart on Embiid for some possessions. I want to convince myself somehow, some way, that fading Embiid on DraftKings is the move. And I've been trying to convince myself that Brad Stevens would scheme him. I watched him trap like Porzingis with the Knicks before, and I was wondering if he would have something like that set up for Embiid. Like if the 76ers are going to beat us, it's got to be Al Horford or Tobias Harris or somebody like that. So in my head, I've been just kind of simulating that as a range of outcome. But nonetheless, statistically and metrically, I can't argue against Joel Embiid. So I won't. So if you guys like him, you think at 10.2K he's easily going to be the highest scoring center because he has to be, play him. I'm going to play him, but I want to keep my ear to the ground and see where the field is at on ownership projections. If he pushes 35-40%, I don't know that he will, but if he starts getting to that level, I will probably let my brain get the better of me, overthink it, and go play a bunch of mid stake single entries and just fade Embiid. I feel like I can get some leverage that way and go like a Jokic, Porzingis or something like that. So something I have in mind. Philadelphia 76ers, kind of like the Raptors, are going to be pretty high predictive value in terms of minutes. Tobias Harris probably going to play 38, 40 minutes. Jay Rich 35 plus. Al Horford probably will get to the 30 minutes threshold. Horford's another guy that has a pretty big discrepancy in price from FanDuel to DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's just 5,300 versus DraftKings 7,200, which makes him somewhat of a value play potentially on FanDuel. Down here where, we might just take 25, 30 versus where on DraftKings I might need 40 plus. So Horford's one of the veterans. A lot of the Sixers fans I know hate his contract. This is his chance to show up and show out. But if I can get him at near a point per minute against his old team Boston Celtics, on FanDuel I'm a buyer. On DraftKings 7,200 I have doubts. Off the bench here, Alec Burks 3,900. He's down there in that Clarkson range. I think a lot of people were discussing Burks versus Clarkson before the Conley news came out. Now the tiebreaker's out. You got to go Clarkson. But is Burks a guy? Is he going to be the sixth man for the Sixers here?
Former Jazz great. If you need bench scoring, not many better guys out there right now, especially for Philly, than Alec Burks.
Yeah, I mean he's just cheap enough to do it. And I think we talked about what lineups might look like if you put in a Burks and Jordan Clarkson. You can go too deep at the center spot. Even if you went Embiid and Jokic doubled down, that leaves you still with 58 per. So I think we see a lot of double value guard lineups featuring Burks and Clarkson. I think at this juncture, I don't really disagree with it, especially if he's one of the guys that's going to benefit immediately if a Jay Rich, if a Shake Milton get into early foul trouble. And Milton's not a guy that we project for deep minutes anyway. Jay Rich, I do put him as a deep minute guy, but not so much on Milton. So I do project Burks to be the sixth man scoring wise. He's probably the only one off the bench. Some people have thrown Matisse Thybulle at me. I don't think I get there.
Do you want a guy who's going to get in foul trouble? That's him.
Yeah. Burks is probably the only dumpster dive from the Sixers side. Looking at the Celtics side, so I brought this one up on my video. Jake, I'm sure you remember, what was it, 2 Christmases ago maybe? Enes Kanter won me $15,000 because he dropped a 20-20 on Joel Embiid. I just wonder at 3,100 on DraftKings, how many lineups do I have to run to play 3,100 Enes Kanter, who's a point per minute machine? If I can get him down there.
I mean, here's your game script. Embiid gets Theis in foul trouble.
Yeah?
I mean, Theis, he's not a huge hacker, but he's not a guy who's been good at avoiding fouls. Embiid, we know he's going to have high usage, and I mean, we can get into another 76er in a minute that I'm a big fan of, but like you could game script real easily Theis to have foul trouble, and then Kanter. Who else are they going to put in Taco Fall?
Yeah, like this is one of those 100K to first plays for me. Just the per minute production. Like I said, 24 minutes on December 12th, 39 DKP, almost doubled, 25 minutes, 22. You want a little bit more than that, but man, that Christmas game was huge. 31 points, 22 rebounds. Like he's had success against Embiid in isolation, like if he had to. And if you look at this game log for the last 10, if it wasn't the center spot, right, where raw points is raw points, I would take almost all of these range of outcomes from his last 10 games at this price. But I can't sacrifice the center spot. So if I'm getting to Kenner, it has to be in 150 lineups where I'm just getting a little cute and creative down there at the end. But yeah, Daniel Tice, potential foul problem. Even if they went to like a Robert Williams or something like that, foul problems. But I think we're going to see Brad Stevens get super creative with guarding Embiid. I think you'll see Tatum on him. You'll see traps with Hayward, Tatum. I think you'll see Marcus Smart on him. I think he's going to just keep it fresh, keep it different throughout the game. And like I said, try to force the Sixers to beat him elsewhere. Anyone on the Celtics you're particularly infatuated with? I think Kemba Walker on FanDuel at 6K is extremely lucrative. The point guard position in general on FanDuel is pretty shallow. Like Kyle Lowry's your most expensive guy at 7.3. I love Jamal Murray at 6.1, but Kemba Walker is a guy that's maybe priced to play 30 minutes, and from what I can see is he's off his minutes restriction. So if we turn Kemba Walker from 26-minute Kemba Walker to a 38-minute Kemba Walker at 6K, it's hard to see him flop in a important playoff game, right?
Yeah, on FanDuel, especially at that price, it's so cheap. On DraftKings, it's a little tougher for me because he is priced up a little bit, and he hasn't been playing great. So I just feel like on DraftKings it's easier to get away. But on FanDuel, where you need 2 point guards, there's really no stud point guard except for, I guess, Lowry on the slate, with Luka being at shooting guard for some reason. I don't know why. Kemba makes a lot of sense there, 6K.
Yeah, I feel like Kemba and Jamal Murray are just going to be easily my most common combo there. I mean, there's really no one else. They have Seth Curry as a point guard and JJ Barea. JJ makes more sense, but Jesus, it's bad down here. Jamal Murray and Kemba probably both are over 50% owned in the point guard spot. I just don't really see a way. Like, there's all these other guys are either backup scrubs or not playing. Like, FanDuel's kind of forcing your hand there. Any other Celtics that make your short list? Like, if you're making a single entry lineup, I think we've keyed in on guys that we like in previous games, and we know the Clippers and Mavericks games are going to be lucrative. Is there any Celtic player on DraftKings? Even Kemba feels like it's not the safest at 6'9". Any Celtics player you see yourself targeting in like a single entry on DraftKings?
Probably not. We've mentioned the pricing has softened a couple spots. I feel like Boston's one of the places it's not on DraftKings. I mean, Boston's always been a team we've looked at. They've got Tatum, they've got Brown, they've got Kemba, they've got the worst player in basketball, Gordon Hayward. They're very spread out, and DraftKings I feel like has done a pretty good job pricing them all at mid 7Ks, except for Tatum at mid 8Ks.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. There's no warm and fuzzies here. Might get some game stacks, maybe shoot for like an OT game or something like that. But it's hard individually at these prices to love more than one, right? You can always paint a picture that one guy goes off, but it just seems like everyone is like a 22-25% usage, and no one like thrives. But yeah, on the Sixer side, you can give me Embiid, you can give me Harris, 7,200 for Horford. Like, how do I do that with a straight face? Like, that's rough.
On DraftKings, I can't. I mean, the big guy for me for Philly on DraftKings is Tobias Harris. Yeah. I mean, obviously Embiid, it's hard to argue against him. But if I'm looking at a secondary option, Tobias Harris, I mean, even when Ben Simmons was playing since the restart, he was just chucking. He's always going to be a guy that gets rebounds. And now with Simmons out, he's got even more responsibility. If we're trying to paint a narrative in fading Embiid that, they're going to focus in on him, they're going to really key on that just means Tobias Harris probably becomes the number one option for Philly.
I agree. OJL, Siakam should smash, right? 7,400 on FanDuel. He should get all the minutes he can handle. But I think on FanDuel, everyone should smash at their price. So there's not one person really on FanDuel that you could say is overpriced. Pretty much everyone's underpriced, and it just becomes it's almost a tiers game on FanDuel today. Like, you're just picking raw points.
Embiid at 8,500 is crazy.
It's nuts. It's really nuts. Horford looks like a great play on FanDuel. Revenge narrative. He bigger than the Celtics. Yeah, I don't know if that's revenge narrative. I mean, he did play for the Celtics, but right now it's the playoff narrative. Go out there and win without Ben Simmons. Kyle Parker says, is Kanter going to play much? No, I don't have a high level of confidence in Kanter getting run, but it's knowing that there's a history of success for Kanter, and at that price, Kanter, easily could 10x if he had the opportunity. If a Daniel Tice got in foul trouble, and then you hate to project injuries in the playoffs, but there might be some injuries in the playoffs, and is Kanter the next man up if a Tatum or Tice goes down? I know they have Robert Williams, but I think I want a guy I know can at least score, if nothing else. So it's just one of those 100K to first big field tournament plays in Kanter, right? Like a Terrence Mann.
We'll get to that game next. I don't know if he's in play today.
Shake Milton. I probably don't have any Shake Josh, but that's one of those plays where if it worked out at the end of the night, I wouldn't be surprised. Because he's one of those players that I do wonder, is he going to get 30 plus 35 minutes? Are they going to sink or commit to that A team? And it's possible. Young C, watching you go down for Murray and Kemba on FanDuel and seeing other options. Point guard sucks. And Murray and Kemba seem like they're going to easily perform value at their 6K price tags and probably should exceed value. And Lowry's there too. And Lowry probably gets less ownership just because Murray and Kemba seem like they can't miss there, right? Danny, love you, Danny. I think Lowry and Murray optimal. Yeah, Lowry and Murray optimal. I think Kemba at 6K, man, that's hard to get away from. Terrence Mann's definitely not in play. Look how chronic. I don't think I talked to Chronic. Does Chronic? Do you know Jake 100K playing Terrence Mann? He's in play. Gosh darn it! All right, we got one game left on the docket to talk about. Before that, we'll take a pause for the cause and remind you guys that tomorrow I'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord voice chat. Probably the goal is 2 hours before lock. I'll have the bang and the coffee ready, but these cats will be in here likely most of the night and all day tomorrow sweating news. We got Bot Dacker that will drop the breaking news when it comes out. So if you guys want to be part of that, listen in or join in on the conversation, grab a mic. That's there for you. The spreadsheet will be there. You guys can access to the spreadsheet. I'm going to draw out my player pool for both sites if you want to compare your notes to mine. I definitely don't mind you bouncing ideas off of me and vice versa. What else? Also, we do baseball. I'm going to have baseball coverage tomorrow as well. And you guys get access to the spreadsheets for baseball if you want. The pre-lock baseball voice chat. And is there anything else I'm missing on a plug? Probably not. We have NFL in a couple weeks. We do have the year-end pass live right there. It went down over the weekend from 300 to 250. So 250 would get you all the NBA playoffs, all of the remainder of the baseball season, and most of the NFL season going until January 1st. It'll save you like $100 on the bulk pass. So if you guys want to lock in, you can do so at rundfs.com. But if you just want to try out the week pass, $25, less than $5 a day, get you daily access to the Discord, meet some new friends, and share screenshots. Have fun. Just have fun. What else we got in the live chat? J-Hap is fake. Okay, buddy, relax. Do you have NBA only package? Nah, man, we don't split. I don't split it up like that. Like I know sites do, like NBA betting, NBA DFS, MLB betting, blah blah blah. I just put it all one size fits all. Like I said, it comes out less than $5 a day. Access to all the sports I personally spearhead: NBA, NFL, and baseball. And that baseball spreadsheet is very powerful. And then those cats in the Discord, man, don't let them lie to you. They're playing golf. They're playing MMA. NASCAR today. Smeezy dropped some NASCAR fire for us. I think 2 out of 3 hit for me. So it's not just those sports. Those are just the sports I advertise that I cover. But those guys are in there grinding everything. Jake, haven't you won like $100,000 in esports in the last year?
No, esports prize pools never got that. I mean, my biggest hits outside of that were, I guess it proves the playing anything. I hit back-to-back GPPs in KBO. So Korean baseball's not even off the table because I'm a degenerate.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you guys play some random, I know they grind soccer if that comes back. If you guys play any DFS sport, there's people in there playing it. I just like to advertise the stuff that I feel like I know anything about, and it's not those sports. Anyway, if you guys had any other questions about that, twitter.com/GundeckerSports. Main event for this 4-game slate, the 230 total 6-point spread in favor of the home team Clippers. Project starting 5 for the Mavericks: Luka Doncic, Seth Curry, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Kristaps Porzingis taking on Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Ivica Zubac. So easily the highest total on the slate. These two teams have met quite a few times, and a couple weeks ago they put up some big games, and it was somewhat competitive. It was really competitive, actually, and it's going to produce a lot of my favorite handcuff plays on the slate. Luka Doncic to Porzingis on FanDuel is less than a $20,000 investment, and I guess it's the same on DraftKings. So I think if you project the Mavericks to stay competitive, those guys are soaking up like that's like Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, tandem usage from their glory days in OKC. Those guys combining for probably like 60% usage on a good day. So if you think that game stays competitive, those guys are going to eat all the minutes, all the usage. Makes a lot of sense to handcuff them and be positively correlated across the board. On FanDuel, 10.2K is nothing for Luka Doncic to pay off. But like I said, I do believe shooting guard is the deepest position over there, points per dollar. I guess Tim Hardaway Jr. would be the extreme wild card. And same with Seth Curry at 3,700. So he kind of joins like a Monte Morris and Alec Burks, a Jordan Clarkson. Again, Clarkson miles ahead at number 1. But there's a range of outcomes where Seth Curry gets off when Luka and Hardaway maybe are drawing that Kawhi, Pat Bev, Paul George defense. So I don't think he's an insane play. Off the bench for the Mavericks, I think the only guy I'd really look at is maybe a Trey Burke. But even that's coming with a tongue-in-cheek level of confidence. So give me Luka and Porzingis clear and away as my favorite plays from the Mavericks. On the Clippers side, I think it gets a little bit bumpy. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul George, first of all, on both sides, 8,100 is, I want to say can't miss, right? 8,100, how do we get less than 40 from playoff Paul? So
The only thing I got to say about that is DraftKings, if you got anybody listening, Paul George and Kawhi can't both be small forward only. That's got come on.
Yeah, that's a little rough. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't. But Kawhi Leonard's almost 10K. I think Kawhi Leonard could get priced out of DraftKings lineups today, right? If you're using money on Embiid or Jokic or Porzingis, and then you're like I said, I think there's great value in Paul George, LeVert. It's gonna be a little bit tougher to get 10K for Kawhi to lay around. Is that a leverage play?
It is, and it's really interesting. I mean, we know Kawhi, even in the regular season, whenever he's getting minutes, he's going to take shots, he's going to do everything. Obviously, he's going to be on the floor 40 minutes. It is tough, though, because like if you're pairing him one, like with Embiid or with Jokic, I feel like if somebody's going to explode for 70, you almost always lean them. Kawhi's going to probably get you 40. Like 40 is a floor for Kawhi in the playoffs, pretty much.
Yeah. And on FanDuel, FanDuel you get forced to play him. I don't know if you've seen the small forward pool. It's him, and then $2,000 cheaper Siakam and Tobias, and then it's like yuck. So I always tend to overpay for small forward on FanDuel anyway. But on DraftKings, I can see Kawhi getting priced out of ownership at 9.8, and he makes all the sense in the world. Like if he ends up being the highest scoring player on the slate, it's not shocking. I wouldn't project him to be. But I would probably still have him as a top 5, just as is now. But so if he ended up being 5-1, I'll take that. If he's gonna get 15% or less ownership just based on lineup construction. Let's talk about some of the moving variables for the Clippers. So injury report on the Clippers. I had Pat Bev with a Q tag. Let me see if that's changed. Patrick Beverley. Left calf strain remains questionable. Doc Rivers previously said that he's hopeful Bev will be available, but it sounds like this will come down to a game-time decision. Landry Shamet also remains questionable. And if either guy sits out, it would be Reggie Jackson filling the backcourt void. And then take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. Lou Williams, man. This is why we went and got chicken wings. 6K is a hefty price to pay. But I think 25 to 35 minutes could be a window based on the Beverly status and the Landry Shamet status. And he's another guy that, first of all, is the highest game total. And if you game script anyone on the Clippers that's relevant, a Paul George, a Kawhi, or one of the guards into foul trouble, that could open up more minutes for Lou Williams. And then Montrezl Harrell. So catch me up on this one. Montrezl Harrell came into the bubble 9 days ago.
It was 7 days ago. He got back on the 10th of this month.
Okay. So there's a quarantine process to enter the bubble and then enter the bubble. So today, Monday, he could be cleared before this game starts to play this game, right?
Yes. It sounds like the expectation is he will be. So from the gist I got of it is, in general, most guys, as long as they're getting tested outside of the bubble, have a 3-day quarantine when getting back, just before they can play again. For some reason, Harrell's wasn't that. He had to go through a 7-day one, which puts, I imagine it was set up as 7 for a specific reason, because the 7th day being tomorrow, or I guess today, so he'd be able to play for the playoffs. Now, conditioning becomes the worry there, but it seems like all indications he'll be good to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd assume, it's not like he had COVID, right? He was just late to the bubble.
He left. He was there in the bubble, and he left, I believe, because of a death in the family.
Okay, so he's got a treadmill, right? It's not like obviously basketball shape is different, but it's not like he was prevented from doing wind sprints in the meantime, right? So maybe playoff basketball, he can still go out there and get his 20 minutes. The reason why I bring that up is because him and Lou Williams run one of the most successful pick and rolls in basketball. So I'm already trying to push the idea of Lou Williams as a great tournament play. You give him one of his best weapons in Montrezl Harrell off the bench. I think that just helps Lou a little bit more. And Lou Williams, I know we all look at him as a pure scorer, but don't sleep on his assists. He has 7 assists against Denver, 6 assists against Phoenix, and 8 assists against Philly. If you can put him with a Montrezl Harrell, run that pick and roll, I definitely like his potential upside. I will say at 6K, I don't feel like I'm getting the greatest bargain on DraftKings. And I list him as one of my potential core plays on FanDuel. That was before I knew that Jordan Clarkson would open up the way he did at 4-4. But I still like the idea of having some Lou in deep tournaments. 5-3 on FanDuel. If I can get 30-plus fantasy points out of him, and I think that's not an insane range of outcome here, I think I'm going to have a nice chunk of him, and he becomes even more lucrative if we lose a Beverly, if we lose a Landry Shamet. If those two are gone, I think it's not crazy to put Paul George at 35 minutes, and I don't know, maybe Terrence Mann gets into the mix.
Hey, they're real short on guards if both of them are out.
So Paul George 8-1, easily my number one play here. So there's a lot of talk about Zubac. So Zubac is 4,100 on DraftKings. It kind of we've talked about how juice center is up top. Maybe you build your lineup a little bit backwards. You take a stab on Zubac, although I do think there's going to be a trickle effect from Montrezl Harrell being back. Zubac will likely. If not, he won't get more minutes. If anything, he'll get potential to get a little bit less this season against the Mavericks. He's averaging 20 minutes per game, and 29 fantasy points per game. So he definitely has the potential to pay off this price tag. Maybe you give up one of those centers for a Zubac or Ibaka or somebody like that, and then you can go double forwards with like a Luka, Kawhi, Paul George. Maybe that's one of the ways to get more exposure to Kawhi is try to fade one of the centers in a couple of lineups. But it's hard to really get behind any of these value centers knowing that 3 guys up top, Jokic, Porzingis, and Embiid, all have 60 fantasy point potential today. What are you doing with Zubac, if anything, knowing that he's only center eligible and Montrezl Harrell might play?
I mean, I want to because, I mean, obviously we don't like the game log watch, but if you give Zubac minutes in the bubble, all the dude has done is drop 30. And now he's gotten a price drop to 4,100. Like that, that's great. I worry that Harrell's back. I have an interesting quote. I mean, it's Doc Rivers. He does Doc Rivers things. But his quote on Harrell was, I'm just going to throw him in there. As you know, he's earned that right in regards to Montrezl Harrell. So who knows what Doc Rivers actually wants to do, but it sounds like the plan is let him play, which definitely hurts Zubac. If I knew Harrell was getting minutes, I actually would like Harrell quite a bit here. I mean, you mentioned it. We know what Harrell can do. He can drop 50 DKP games. Yeah. That's in his wheelhouse.
Absolutely. I like him a lot in fast-paced stuff, but yeah, I mean, this is a spot where he could thrive just as well. And Zubac's, he's not immune to some foul trouble here and there. Harrell's 58, 59. Let me make sure he is only a center on. I can't type tonight.
Yeah, he is center only on DraftKings
and FanDuel as well. So, yeah, it's it's hard. Like, there's a couple guys at the center value wise that I want to take some shots on, but I just don't want to sacrifice these raw points at the top of the center position. I wish we still had a little forward eligibility there for Porzingis. Let's go look at the live chat before we get out of here. Chat, if you guys are finna hit the road, look like 90 live viewers, 20 likes, man. You guys want to show me a little bit of love, hit that thumbs up. And if you like what you've heard or you want some more content, hit that subscribe button. I would surely appreciate it. We're very close to 5K subscribers. I feel like I've been saying that for 2 years because I have, because we just stopped making content. But we're back. See what you guys got in the live chat on this game. Chronic says MKG is going to get minutes in this series. Mavs don't have no wing guys like that, especially defensively. Yeah, the thing with MKG is you can only sell out for defense so much, right? As soon as the Clippers have an 8 to 12 point lead, MKG turns into Tim Hardaway, Seth Curry, like guys. You got to get your scorers out there. That's just the way it is. And I don't really trust MKG to hold his own on offense. Doc Rivers' defensive scheming against Luka, just my thoughts. I've heard that before, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's not true, and I do think, we put a lot of expectations on the Clippers defense with Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, but there's been games where it just hasn't been there. Luka's averaging over 50 fantasy points there, and Luka's one of those guys that is borderline matchup proof because he doesn't have to just have 20 real points. He can go out there and get you triple-double peripherals. So at 11K on DraftKings, I definitely could see myself being low on Luka because I do think there's some advantageous spots elsewhere from guys that are in the 9-8K range. But let's not – Luka has popped off for 70s and 80s and some much less likely spots. I don't want to say much less likely, but in some unlikely spots. So I wouldn't completely sleep on him. On FanDuel, it's a harder no. But 11K on DraftKings, he has to be the highest scorer on the slate by maybe 15 fantasy points to really make me feel like I missed out, right? So I could see Luka just being maybe a tier 3 for me. But I mean,
it sort of rolls back to what Chronic said too with MKG. The guy who's kind of been slept on in the bubble, both offense and defense, is Dorian Finney-Smith. Has played a lot of minutes and played really well.
His name is DFS. We play DFS, bro. Is he? Would you comp him to like a Royce O'Neal?
I mean, he does much more on offense and he takes more shots than Royce will, but and he's probably not as good at. He's more of a. He's like Harrison Barnes, but not as awful to play.
Yeah, no warm and fuzzies there, but I definitely can see it. 4.8. I need 30. Is 30 a reasonable range of outcome? He's averaging 23 and 33. It's there.
He's going to play a ton of minutes is the big thing with it. Like, he was doing it just in bubble games. He's played well. I imagine they're just going to throw him out there and let him go. He's a good defender.
Anthony Vaughn says, who do you start your lineup builds with tomorrow? So, if you had to have a core. I actually did a core video for FanDuel and DraftKings, but knowing what we know now, I think the first name you click on DraftKings is probably Jordan Clarkson. Right?
I would agree.
This is step one. Go find Clarkson, click him 3,800. If 3,800 Clarkson at potentially 30 minutes, he only needs 25 minutes for me to click his name without blinking. But if he gets 35 minutes, which is a range of outcomes, if Moutier's down, Mike Conley's down, that's not out of the question. So Jordan Clarkson number one for me.
Fingers crossed a couple people see the last two 14-minute games and get worried, not realizing Utah pulled anybody relevant. And they clearly, obviously Clarkson's a big part. Super cheap. He's going to shoot. Without Moutier, he might have to play, or not without Moutier, without Conley and potentially Moutier, he might have to play 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then I might run it back with a Jokic, but Clarkson's easily the first guy I'm starting my lineups with on DraftKings. Is there any other guy that's I'm not playing without this guy in my lineup on DraftKings?
I'm more of a single entry guy, so I think in that regard, but for me, the other guy's Paul George.
Yeah.
I think he's too cheap.
Agreed. 8,100. There's just the floor is way too high. We haven't unleashed the ceiling at this price since the bubble came back, and for me, that's a good thing because I know what a ceiling can be. And in the playoffs, I expect great things, big things from him. So yeah, if I can get that 50+ fantasy point game out of him, I'm 100% here for that. 37 minutes against Dallas on the 6th, 42 fantasy points. So just a little over a point per minute, but you see it almost. Peripherals in every category, and we know the still potential's there for him as well. I wish he was small forward eligible over there on FanDuel. They used to have Kawhi at power forward for a time, and then George, I think, at small forward. But I guess since Marcus Morris went back in the mix, they've been pushing him up one, right? Way 2 says interested in Burks and Clarkson. Yeah, Alec Burks and Jordan Clarkson are probably will probably be two of the highest owned value plays today, and it makes a lot of sense to start with them and then stack your centers and then just kind of fill in the blanks, right? DFS has trouble dealing with Kawhi. Yeah, Clarkson and O'Neal is how I'm starting. So I'm there on Royce O'Neal, but he's not going to be a core player for me. Like I do think there's a range of outcomes where he's just an average play, but I get it. The minutes are there, opportunity's going to be there. He's got to pick up some slack. So I'm definitely not anti O'Neal, but I can't say that's how I'm starting a lineup.
On DraftKings, a big pricing. Like he played his way up to a 5K player for pretty much the majority of the bubble, and now he's randomly at 3,500 again.
Yeah, it is pretty cheap for opportunity cost. Jamal Murray. Oh yeah, Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray on both sides will probably be one of my highest owned point guards. So, I mean, just with that in mind, let's put Clarkson, Burks, and Jamal Murray. I mean, that's probably a pretty solid core four, giving me almost 7K per. If you did want to tie down to Royce O'Neal there at 35, you get 8K for the 2 center spots. That's Porzingis and Jokic. I don't want to build a lineup and give it away, but you get 7K for the last forward spot. Jesus, there you go. there's how I would start a lineup.
For a playoff slate, there's a surprising amount of value.
It really is. Jamal Murray. Yeah, I like Jamal Murray on both sides. Anyway, I will be back on the grind in the morning for the pre-lock NBA voice chat in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. You guys are more than welcome to jump in on that. Go get a week pass at RunDFS.com. Give me a thumbs up, guys. Help me out. Help the channel out. Some interaction with the video really shakes up our presence in the YouTube algorithm. We've been really grinding back into the forefront. I think I've got over 100 new subscribers in the past 5 days. So just any type, you can even thumbs down. Any type of interaction with the video helps out. So I definitely would appreciate it. I am planning on having a baseball video. Right after I get off the air, I'll probably go record a baseball video, then upload it. So if you're playing MLB DFS tomorrow and you like to hear my spin on some of those pitchers, that'll be up tomorrow. Otherwise, we'll be grinding NBA DFS all day long tomorrow in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. And then maybe we'll do it again tomorrow, chat, right? You guys show me enough love with thumbs up and comments. Maybe we'll have another live stream tomorrow night and break down the Tuesday playoff slate. And maybe Jake will save some money for the rest of us today.
I'll try.
With that said, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Good luck.